Good morning, this is Anna Amelia from North East Animal Rights. Today we are doing another one of our Saturday Spotlight interviews, and we have the lovely Tati von Rheinbaben, who is a member of Search, an activist with Search, and she's also Earthling Ed Winter's personal assistant as well. So welcome Tati, thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. It's really, really nice that I get to also chat a bit about my work.
Lovely. And without further ado, if that's okay, we'll go straight into some questions. The first one is, can you talk to me about, about your veganism journey? What was the moment when you decided to make the change, or was it part of a longer process?
Yeah, so I've been vegan now for almost 6 years, and I grew up in a very mixed household. Parents, dad German, Lebanese, mom Mexican, Spanish, but somehow always really conscious of everything regarding the environment. No plastic, turn off the lights, take quick showers. So I think I had that in the back of my mind, especially when I lived many years in Mexico and people really didn't even start with the small things as turning off the lights and so forth. But then when I went to college and I was at UC San Diego for my undergrad, I came across a lot more vegan options that were just being offered in the small grocery store there. And I met a lot more vegetarian people. Vegan, actually not, though I didn't know what it mean back then. And somehow when I was walking once around campus, some activist handed me, no, actually I was back in the dorm one day and some of my roommates had gotten a flyer from an animal rights organization. I really don't know which one. And I just quickly flipped through it, seeing a chicken and a pig in a factory farm. And I was like, oh wow, no, this is it. I gotta go pescatarian. So I went pescatarian, and I was pescatarian for about a year and a half, consuming more and more of the vegan products at the store, and we had a small vegan restaurant at the university actually. But just thinking about it more and more, is like, wait, this doesn't make sense. And I didn't even really see any videos or anything like that. It was just me thinking more about it and realizing that I could go vegan very well, and that I really didn't want to consume any animal products anymore. So my birthday, when I was really starting to consider this seriously, my birthday was coming up, and I knew people were going to give me cake or cookies and whatnot. So I decided, okay, right after my birthday, the day after my birthday, I'm going to go vegan. So February 11th was my birthday, 2014. I still got some cakes, ate those, and then it took me about a month to fully switch to veganism. I wanted to finish all my food. I'm also a huge anti-food waste person. So I finished all what I had, and then after that I just started buying more and more vegan foods. And I think what really got me also quite hooked into the space, not just to decide to go vegan for me personally, was that I struggled with an eating disorder for many years, and up to the point where I was like, what am I even living for? So many days I went to bed not wanting to wake up anymore, and I was still struggling with that in college, even though I was a lot happier. But then when I really joined veganism, it just gave me a huge passion for something and really life energy again. I always loved nature and animals. But then when I decided to go vegan and then slowly got involved more and more with vegan activists and met more vegans, that just gave me a huge push again for life and wanting to keep going. And I think that's also what made me then decide to stick to veganism and be like, hands down, best decision I've made in my life.
Mm-hmm. So how did your role with Search and working with Earthling come about? And what is it about Search's particular message that aligns with your ethics and message? And what's the most rewarding part of your role?
Yeah, so it was really luck as I came across them and that job, and right place, right time. So when I was getting my master's also in the US and California, I was one of many students who emailed Ed through his website saying, hey, Ed, I'm at this university. If you ever want to come to California, let me know. I can organize a talk for you. And never thought I'd get a reply. But about a month later, he did reply saying, hey, I'm actually going to be in California. So I started planning a talk at my university, also to other universities in the area where I knew people, and at Google where I had some friends. And in the end, unfortunately, Ed couldn't come anymore, but I had still started planning all of that. About a year later, I met Ed coincidentally at an event. We chatted quickly and stayed in touch. And a year later, so a year later, meaning this has been a year and a half now, he reached out saying, hey, Luna, his partner, and we'd love to have an assistant help us out a few hours a week with answering emails, helping speaking engagements, getting involved with Search. So I joined on an hourly basis, but since January this year, it's been a part-time job for me. And I've gotten more and more involved in different things. And I think what I really like about Search is that we're a really small team. So especially with Ed and Luna, I communicate quite a lot. I know them very well. They're very, very sweet people, very understanding. We all make mistakes, and they're really understanding, very flexible, many ideas, and really down to earth. And I think what people often say is they like how Ed communicates, for example, his activism. And I do think it's not really that he just that's how he communicates when he's given a talk, but it's really also how he has that as within Search. And what I also like is that they're really careful with how to grow the team, and that every team member's opinion counts a lot. They ask me a lot for my opinion, and they get me involved in many things. So that has been one super rewarding thing, the fact that I've been able to see how a small organization is slowly growing, how everybody can be involved, how it works very horizontally, and how also all the other people I've met through the emails Ed forwards to me, like you, and other organization companies from all over the globe, and also from different fields. Some are more from the science field, and I studied science, so I like when I can have sciencey nerdy talks. When it's about student vegan activists, when it's someone from politics or the government, when it's a tech company wanting to have Ed. And I've just gotten in touch with people that way, learned a lot from them, and being a global citizen as I am, moving, it's also nice for me to know, oh, I could move there, and then there's going to be this group of people I already know, and I can do some outreach there with them, or see how we can organize some events there with them. Yeah. So it's been a perfect job for me, for my lifestyle, but also for my passion.
So where are you actually based then?
Yeah, so right now I am in France, in Annecy. It's a small town super close to Geneva, the Swiss border, but I'm moving tomorrow, actually, to Switzerland for a month and a half. I was planning on staying here for a bit longer to watch how COVID was going, but I got a cat sitting opportunity and free rent and exchange. So going all the way till the end of January, and then we'll see. And then after that, I'll probably be in the UK actually for a month or a month and a half, maybe a bit longer. I wanted to go a bit earlier, but now with this cat sitting, I decided to do that. And for my other part-time job, where I work with reforms, helping farmers shift from livestock and dairy to plant-based milk production, we have 2 farms in Switzerland, and I have many friends in Switzerland, so it's actually also a nice place to be for a while. Also, people who I've met through Ed's work, so I'll be getting around a bit.
That sounds like it. We've already interviewed Jane Catcher-Wild from Bradley Nook Farm. They were lovely, absolutely lovely. Yeah. They were due to come up because I run a vegan festival up here as well, and obviously that's being stopped for the moment. But they were actually due to come along and do a Q&A, so we ended up doing an interview remotely instead. But they're absolutely lovely people, just so humble and just so inspiring. So apart from Ed, who do you follow in the animal rights movement?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, at this point, I follow a lot of people. I don't even know how many people I follow on social media and everything. I don't have a whole social media following as people follow me, but I follow a lot. I think recently, I wouldn't say specific people, but just movements I've been following a lot more are the food tech movement, because I also worked a bit in that field, and I'm still involved in it a bit with Reformed and some other jobs, where seeing how vegan alternatives are expanding, the cell-based, so lab-grown meat, how all of that is growing, the regulations, people feedback, how the technology is advancing. And because I am also really passionate about helping farmers shift, and not only through Reform, but also other things, I do follow that sustainable agriculture movement a lot, and seeing what scientists like Joseph Poore or Helen Harvard, how they are writing papers or doing research about that, and getting policies and government officials involved. And also I've just been trying to follow, for example, just more the sustainability area in general worldwide, and trying to see how we can ensure that sustainability is not only a greenwash word, but how we always bring in animal rights as well. So following biomimicry movement, which is about imitating nature to make things more sustainable, are they looking at animal rights somehow? Or the fashion industry, how are they doing it more environmental friendly? What actors and actresses are doing that? So really trying to branch out a bit more at this point into also the non-vegan world, and see how we can get veganism more in there, or ask the questions. And that's why I follow more these other not so vegan movements. in the hope that we can push the veganism in there.
Yeah. Well, I suppose if you're just talking to other vegans, you're just talking in an echo chamber, because everybody already knows you're pretty converted. So it is better to sort of like spread a little bit. I don't know if have you heard of Rebecca Knowles? We interviewed her for Farmers for Stock-Free Farming.
Yes.
She was lovely. She's doing very similar to Reformed, but up in Scotland, and kind of like looking at different pathways for farmers to make the transition from beef and dairy. And what she's doing is really, really interesting. So we'll have her interview airing in the new year as well. But she was really, really good to talk to.
Yeah, she has the amazing list of 100 things that farmers can shift. I got in touch with her in May or June when Ed and Serge had the Milk This Is Your Moments campaign. And we put together a short document for farmers to shift. So I got in touch with her for that and to help me, and we've been in touch since.
It's a small world, isn't it?
Yes, after all, it's a small world. I realized that a lot.
Is there a specific area of animal rights that you have a particular affinity to or an interest in? For me, it's eggs and dairy. But I know for other people, it's maybe vivisection or something else.
I think for me, it's really everything. But rather than saying I'd focus more on some type of suffering or some type of animal exploitation, for me, it's really the farmers aspect in general. What I touched on a bit before, how can we get farmers to shift completely? I do think that the mindset is changing, and people now are not saying, oh, if we don't have farmers anymore, what's going to happen to them? People more and more understand, okay, they could be doing something else. But then for me, it's this area of how can we really help farmers do something else? And by this, I don't mean only saying, hey, stop dairy and start doing oat milk like we farm, but also seeing large scale farms. How can they, maybe not overnight, but at least partly shift? What can they plan? What market is going to be there for their new products? Where can they get funding from? And what else can they offer on their farm, like bed and breakfast or educational facilities? How can we get students and universities involved to maybe do research on the farm about how wildlife is coming back, or about what crops would be ideal for their soil? And often it's the younger generation, so the kids of the farmers that want to change the farm. So what ideas do they have? So it's really that whole part of the vegan movement that I'm really interested in. Also because for me personally, it combines my interest in science and technology and social science and government and policy.
I think it's interesting when you're saying you're kind of like looking at the young farmers, because you're right, it is a generational thing, and it's an incredibly hard life to be a farmer.
Yes.
And I think people maybe feel stuck in this sort of generational, it's a family thing, so they've got to keep it going. So I think it's really, really good to look at the emotional support, the financial support, the ideas, so they have options, so that they don't feel trapped into it, and they don't feel sort of as if that's the only thing they can do. So I think Reformed, I mean, I'm absolutely, it just looks amazing. And obviously talking to Rebecca as well and seeing what's going on, it's just, one of the things we have as well is, well, exactly, if what do the farmers do? They'll have no jobs. And you think, well, actually, there's so many options out there now. So it's literally no excuse. You just need to, make the decision in your head and then go out and get the help, because there is help available now, which there wasn't maybe a couple of years ago.
There is, and I mean, I don't know how many farmers are going to see this video, but I do know of many people starting to work more in this field. 2 girls in Germany thinking about setting up a consultancy for a farmer, like to help really farmers plan out what they could do, which is something I would love to get involved in, and organize some scientists that go and take samples and analyze them, and then talk with the farmers about what options do you have, what would you like to do. And just for the UK Milk This Is Your Moments campaign, where we set up a document of what options do farmers have, I'm working with people in other countries right now to set up a similar document for other countries, which even if we publish it in a nice formal way, in the end it's a living document. It's going to keep growing. But especially with 3 women, with Jackie, for example, as well in New Zealand, we're working on one for New Zealand. I talked to a group in Australia who just told me that they started engaging with their first farmer now to help him shift. I have the girls in Germany, another woman in the Netherlands. So I do see that slowly growing, and that just gives me a lot of hope as well.
Yeah. It does sound really, really inspiring. It's just great because 5 years ago we wouldn't be having this conversation. We'd be stuck in the kind of the mindset of we're taking the jobs away from them. But it's just amazing. It's really, really good what you're doing. So one of the things we get when we are when we're doing outreach is if I stop eating meat, it won't make a difference. What's the point? So what would you say to people who say that one person cannot make a difference?
Yeah, I get that quite a lot, that question. So I always say a movement, any movement, the vegan movement, any Black rights movement, any social movement, it's made up of individuals. We don't have a giant, and by giant I mean a literal giant with a gigantic hand changing one thing at a time. It's every individual part that makes a movement grow. And when we have many, many individuals coming together, they really form that movement. And when I went vegan, many people told me that, oh, but you're the only vegan. I mean, I didn't know any other vegans back then. And this was almost 6 years ago. And I know it's not that long, but even then it was just starting to grow. And I planted a lot of seeds. I got a lot of criticism, but I kept going. And over the years, many people came back to me saying, guess what, I'm vegan now, or guess what, I'm almost vegan now, or guess what, now so-and-so is vegan, or guess what, my boyfriend's vegan now, and so I also went vegan. So I saw how it all came back and how me as an individual just planting a seed really made a difference. And it became a roller coaster. And even with my parents who were so against it, over the quarantine now, when I was back home in Mexico with them for a while, well, they're already super vegan friendly, but they really became a lot more vegan friendly now. And my dad went crazy on buying the Beyond Meat products, really the freezer filled with burgers and sausages. And he told some of his friends, and then some of his friends started buying those products, like, oh, this is really good, we could buy this more often. So I see how me really as an individual, just by touching a few people, it's the butterfly effect. And as an individual, we can have such a huge impact. Ed started as an individual with Luna, but it was really both of them, and they grew their YouTube channel a lot, search all their other social media channels, and that then has touched so many more people. So I do think that all these individual actions we're taking, as creating videos like this, creating larger events, organizing talks, introducing vegan options in a dining hall, those are all small things done by one person or just a few. So it is really, everybody can have his or her preferred activity in this space, and it will make a difference for sure.
It sounds as if your dad's very proud of you. if he's filling his freezer with stuff and telling other people as well, he sounds as if he's very proud of you.
I hope so.
So I think you've kind of half answered this question, but what's your biggest achievement in animal rights so far? And which campaign have you got most satisfaction from?
Oh, that's a tough one. I think there's just so many great points I've had. I think on an individual level, as egocentric as it may sound, just the fact that it did get me out of my eating disorder, that was one personal big achievement. It's not like I fully overcame it yet. I don't know if you ever do, but that was just a personal thing where it just filled me so much with life. But on a larger scale, I wouldn't even say that it's been one big achievement, though, to be honest, the fact that I'm working for Ed and for Search, that has just been a big achievement. And I obviously admired Ed, and the fact that I know that I can work with him right now in Search, that is an amazing feeling. I'm very grateful for the opportunity. But it's been more the small things, when people message me telling, hey, Tati, I remember we talked a month ago, and since then I've become more vegan, or I've set up this event, or I've inspired my parents. It's all those small messages that just make it seem so important when I'm doing, even though sometimes it might feel small. I would really say that, like, the fact that I know that I'm contributing to movement that's growing, and that it's filled with more passionate activists every second, pretty much. That's an amazing achievement. I don't think it has to be anything big that makes it feel worth what I'm doing.
Well, you were saying about sort of people sending you messages and things, and I know that one of our newer members, Shane, was in touch with you, and I know that you recommended he contact us because he's obviously in our area, and he's probably, fan is the wrong word, but he is a big fan of yours. He thinks you're absolutely amazing and inspiring. So if you wouldn't mind, can you just, so I don't forget, can you just say hello with him? This is Shane. He's our IT guy.
Sure.
Sorry, he's a huge fan of yours, and I know him talking to you has kind of given him like a really, really big sort of what's the word, incentive to keep on going. He's really, really passionate, and he's doing a really, really good job with us,
So you mean to Sean?
Yeah, to Shane. Yeah.
Shane, yes. Sorry, yes. Shane. So Shane, very, very sweet. He reached out a while ago to Ed. He responded, and he got back to me saying, so sorry, I wasn't really sure about this. I had a chat with him, a really long chat. He was such a lively person with so many ideas. And he also called me recently telling me that he'd had a chat with somebody, and he talked about Ed and Search and his activism. I listened to a podcast he was recently on as well, and he's been doing some amazing job. So I do say congrats to Shane.
Yeah, he's doing really, really good. And I think it's good as well that we have, I mean, obviously our group have got people who've been long-term vegans and very experienced animal rights activists to people like Shane, who've literally just come in a few months, but they're so passionate. They know all the current facts and research and everything, and it's just, you know, it's kind of like they can't believe that other people don't get it, so they just want to kind of try to bring people with them. It's brilliant. So for those people who are considering veganism, but they're still not able to take that final step, what advice would you give them?
One main thing, but this is because it worked for me, is really just not trying to do it overnight. I know some people do say, no, you should go vegan overnight. I personally just don't think overnight is the way to go, and to do it. So to not beat yourself up to make mistakes, to understand that it's a slow process. It takes more for some people, less for other people, and to do it in a way that feels comfortable for you, where you know you can stick to it. So maybe start one week cutting out the eggs, the next week the dairy, the next week first the meat, then the chicken, then the dairy, the eggs, or maybe do it over, so 2 weeks meat, no meat, 2 weeks no chicken, 2 weeks no fish. To do it that way, and to understand that if you go to a restaurant, you order a salad, you thought it had an olive oil dressing, but it came with a creamy dressing, it's okay. Eat it. It's not the end of the world. Next time you'll know how to order it, and you don't have to be all sad about it and give up on it. So things like that will happen. And just, I do think that the social aspect of veganism is quite important. So if you don't have any vegan friends in your immediate friend circle, join some Facebook groups where you can ask questions about veganism, about where to buy products, where maybe there's a potluck that's being organized, or in non-COVID times, join in-person events if you can, like a potluck, some activism, just so that you can chat with people about your vegan journey, see how you can get more involved, put events together. It does, I think it's important that we all have non-vegan friends, so we can touch non-vegans, and I do have a lot of non-vegan friends, and I love that. Also, to sometimes get a bit outside of the vegan bubble, but on the other hand, having those vegan friends to keep you on track and keep you going, I think that's very important once you get more into it. And on that, especially in the Western world nowadays, you have so many vegan options. So just be open to trying new things. Go in the grocery store and see what's out there. Come up with some great recipes. So many great ideas on YouTube nowadays, and YouTubers to follow. That it's really not hard, in my opinion. Yeah, I think those would be like my main tips.
I mean, I think there's some really, really good tips there. You're right. It's never been easier to be vegan now. I think the hardest thing actually is turning the switch in your head to say, I'm going to do it. And then obviously dealing with other people's opinions, because everybody has an opinion of you being vegan, don't they? But I think what you said, you know, like sort of look at, you know, a particular area like eggs or dairy or something, or, you know, and everybody makes mistakes. I mean, even, you know, we as long-term vegans, we make mistakes, and you think, oh, I can't believe I've just eaten that by mistake. But you're right, it's absolutely pointless. It's done. So you just have to make sure that other people know that this item's not vegan, and just move on. So what's next for Surge then?
Wow, well, we have many projects, but all COVID dependent, definitely. So by the time people listen to this, they'll know that the Search Sanctuary has launched, which I'm so excited about. The Search Sanctuary, it's actually launching, well, today when we're recording this. That's coming up on social media. I'm really excited about that. I'm also hoping to visit the animals sometime next year, February, March. We do, so for Ed and Luna personally, they have a lot of speaking tours that they'd like to do, meaning I'll have to plan them, but we'll see how many of those actually happen, if it's just more on a one-on-one level, or university level, or company level. Our campus rep program that we launched last year for university students to do outreach, this year to do outreach, we always had to stop because of COVID. So for the future, we just hope to keep growing it, first in the UK and then internationally. Our online video campaigns are definitely continuing. During the pandemic now, it became a real dream come true for Ed and Luna to have one video, which is what we call like a mini campaign each week. So that's definitely something we want to keep going. Definitely still engaging with people in larger companies and larger organizations that are not vegan yet, where Ed and Search could have an impact. We also want to keep creating good material and nice format that can go up on our website, like the farm shift documents, but for other countries. Resources for teachers. I'm working on a document that I want to put on the website that's really nicely made for teachers of how they could do outreach at schools, at universities. Unity diners are obviously still existing, so that's another area we're exploring how to go about it. And yeah, those are, I think, the most immediate projects I can think of right now, but definitely just keeping the speaking engagements going once COVID allows to do so again.
That sounds like an awful lot of work.
It is, and I'm excited about it, but I also know I'm a bit behind because my work was reformed. But yeah, I mean, I'm definitely hoping next year to be in the UK for a bit, to also work a bit with Ed and Luna in person, do some hands-on work as well in the search sanctuary, and get a bit more involved with farmers, both for reform but also for search.
Yeah, you need to come a little bit further up north as well, not just London. Maybe Newcastle. That's where we are.
Yeah, I might, because the farm reform is working with and the search sanctuary, they're both in the same area, like Nottingham area. So I'll already be more up north. So maybe I'll go also to Newcastle.
Good. And hopefully we'll get the chance to meet you in person as well, rather than just virtually.
Yeah, it would be really nice. Definitely. Also, I told Shane when I talked with him that I was at some point hopefully going to make it up. So I do have to do that.
That's brilliant. Well, that's all my questions there. So it's been absolutely fascinating talking to you today. It's been really, really good. Thank you very much for giving up your time today. I know everybody will be really, particularly Shane, but everybody will be really, really interested to listen and watch you. So this is Anna-Amelia from Northeast Animal Rights saying thank you very much to Tati von Rheinbaben from Surge, saying thank you very much for giving up your time today, and good luck with everything you're doing with Surge. So goodbye for now.
Thank you so much. It's been an honor. I really like this interview. Thank you.